As you can see, Lucy Powell, the Shadow Culture Secretary, joins us in the studio. Lovely to see you this morning. Well, shall we start with Manston and that pretty damning inspectorate report? I mean, at least when speaking to Robert Jenrick this morning, there did appear to be an acceptance that the conditions there are unacceptable. His argument, however, is this is not a situation of the government's creation. It is a situation being created by those people smugglers who are getting people here in record numbers. What's your view?
Well, it's both is true, isn't it? Because this is about record numbers coming over here. Nearly, I think we're going to head upwards of 40,000 coming across in small boats this year alone. That figure is up from a few dozen a few years ago. It's a massive increase that's happened over time. People have been aware of it for a long time. And what I find sort of startling is the government's position that somehow this is new news to them, that this is something they hadn't foreseen, this is something they didn't know was coming. They have been in charge of our immigration system for 12 years now. Both Suella Braverman, Robert Jenrick and the rest of the cabinet, they have been in charge of this immigration system for 12 years. It is broken, but it's broken under their watch.
So what then would Labour do differently? I mean, as you say, the Conservatives have obviously been in power for longer than a decade, and successive ministers have tried to deal with this. But it doesn't seem that within the legal framework that there currently is, there is any way that we can stop people coming across the channel in small boats.
Well, there are ways, and they're the things that the government should have been doing, that Yvette Cooper and the Labour Party and others have been calling on them to do for years to deal with some of these issues. And what we see time and again from this government is high rhetoric and then no action.
OK, be specific
backing it up.
What would you do to fix it?
So we should have had a much stronger arrangement with the French. Instead, we have played fast and loose with our relationship with the French when we've needed them to deal with some of these issues further upstream. We absolutely have to... there are a lot more we could do to make some of the activities of the criminal gangs illegal, the way they advertise on social media, for example, and lots of other ways of their business model flourishes, which we should be cutting off at root, which we haven't been doing. And we, critically at the moment, we should be processing much, much faster the decision-making on some of these applications, because people can come over here and it might take up for 2 years for their process to be dealt with. And all that 2 years, it's costing the taxpayer expensive hotel costs and so on while their applications are being processed. So they're just some of the things we're doing, but we're not going to be held to account for this government's failings on immigration. It's not the Labour Party's fault. It's not the Labour Party's problem. It's this government's, but we have been calling on them for years to do action to deal with it.
Do you accept, though, that for many people in this country, this is a real live issue, not just those people who are directly affected living on the south coast? Mr Jenrick was providing the example of one Albanian who made his way into someone's property, and clearly that is unacceptable, but also in places like the Red Wall, that there is a real desire to see some government of whatever political hue to actually get to grips with this, to stop people risking their lives coming across the channel, and indeed for people who do make it to this side of the English Channel, that they don't seem to be receiving preferential treatment to, just as a random example, people who are living rough on the streets of the UK.
Well, absolutely. These are real problems that people raise with me all the time. And because they're not being dealt with, because we're seeing such increases in numbers and then the government not dealing with the situation afterwards, what we're seeing, this dispersal policy that they have had over the last few years just isn't working, because it doesn't come with the requisite funding that local authorities need. These hotels that are being bought up for processing asylum applications is causing problems in local communities as well, and it's putting a lot of pressure under local services. I see that for myself.
It is not racist. It would not be racist, in your view, for someone to raise significant concerns about the way in which immigration policy has not been pushed by this government.
No, it wouldn't be racist, because I think it is being very, very badly managed. You know, Suella Braverman herself said it is broken, and it is broken because we're seeing very, very slow processing times. We're not seeing the action on the criminal gangs. We're seeing huge numbers taking that decision to come across in small boats. And the dispersal policies of this government are there not working, because you're seeing large numbers being housed in unsuitable accommodation, not able to work, not able to contribute, putting pressure on local services, and local councils are not being supported with those decisions. In fact, local councils don't have any say at all over whether these hotels or migrant centres can be housed in their area, yet they are expected to deal with the consequences of it. So those failings are on the government. That's who they're on.
Well, let's just deal very specifically with the performance by Suella Braverman at the dispatch box in the House of Commons yesterday. A couple of things that she said that it would be good to get your view on. First, that we are currently experiencing an invasion on the South Coast. Second, that she is the victim of a political witch hunt.
Well, I'm sorry, I have little sympathy for Suella Braverman, somebody who's been found to have breached the ministerial code and broken all protocols by emailing private and secure government information to her own Gmail account, which she's then distributed to others. So she shouldn't still be in her post for that alone. I think the language that she used yesterday in the House of Commons was deeply irresponsible, coming just 24 hours after we saw a firebomb attack on a migrant centre in Kent. This will put our security services, our police, local communities at higher risk, and it will put them on high alert. And for the Home Secretary to put our security services at greater strain through incendiary language, I think is deeply irresponsible.
I think there's an incredibly emotive issue, and no matter which side of the political divide you fall in, it would certainly behove us all to just reduce the temperature just a little bit.
Absolutely.
Lucy Powell, thanks very much for joining us. Really appreciate it.